It is a very rainy day today, and it is the perfect day to get all of the cooking and baking that I need to done. I'm very excited about it. I love these warm, rainy, cozy days. We are currently in between our school times. The kids are on break. I'm sure you can hear them in the background. And the first thing I'm going to do is get some whole wheat, freshly milled whole wheat bread going. So I added 1 tablespoon of yeast, 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, and I'm going to be activating my yeast with warm milk. I have warmed my milk. This is 1.5 cups of milk, and I'm going to use that to activate my yeast. If your milk is too hot, you can kill the yeast, but you want to make sure it's warm enough because that will create a bubbly, active yeast. I'm going to mix this and allow it to sit for about 5 minutes. While this is sitting, I'm just going to be melting my butter. I'm doing 1/3 cup of butter, and I'm just going to melt it in the same measuring cup that I used for the milk. While this is sitting, I'm just going to be making some homemade granola bars. I'm just going to start by adding 1 stick or 1/2 cup of butter into a Dutch oven on low to medium heat. I want it melted, and then I will add my honey and my other ingredients. Once it starts to get hot and boil, I will add in my oats. It will help to cook them a little bit. I will continuously stir, turn it off, and then place it into a 9x13 greased pan. I am going to grease it with some butter. I'm just going to be adding in my melted butter, my salt, I'm doing 1 teaspoon of salt and 1/3 cup honey. For the flour, I'm going to be doing 4 cups of whole wheat, freshly milled flour. I am doing hard red wheat, but you can also do soft white wheat or hard white wheat. I prefer to do a hard white wheat. I actually just got some berries from the Amish store, so I will be using those in the future, but honestly, the red wheat has worked out so beautifully. You want to make sure you have 127 grams per cup. So whether you are just measuring by cups or measuring by grams, you will do a total of 4 cups or 127 grams per cup or 508 grams of flour. For these specific granola bars, I'm going to be making them more fruit-based, so I'm going to be adding some cranberries and raisins. I'm also going to be adding a little bit of white chocolate chips. I just have some wet fingers and I'm just going to be pushing down, pressing the white chocolate chips in and trying to press the granola bars so that they are nice and tight and create a firm bar. I'm going to be placing some parchment paper over top and sticking this in the fridge. Now back to my bread, I'm just going to be adding 4 cups of flour. The key to whole wheat is you want to make sure that you do not add too much flour. That's really any bread, but make sure you don't add too much flour. And as it's mixing, if you're watching it and you feel like, oh my gosh, there's not enough flour, just wait. Give it at least 6 to 8 minutes before adding any additional flour. If you find that your dough is a little bit too sticky, which is better, you want it to be too sticky versus too dense and hard, then you can always slowly add a little bit more flour at a time, usually a couple of tablespoons at a time. If you feel it's really sticky, you can add a 4th cup at a time, or you can just wait and when you knead your dough, knead it on a floured surface and slowly add in flour then. If you are someone who likes to make a very precise and accurate loaf every single time, I did include the gram measurements. That will help you to create more consistent, precise bread. I just personally didn't use the gram measurements, so I slowly just kind of tweak my dough with what I need, which is usually just a touch more flour. I'm just going to shape this dough into a ball and allow it 1 to 2 hours to rise. The key to perfect bread, especially whole wheat, 100% whole wheat, is allowing it the proper time to knead. Sometimes we can get impatient and add flour before we should, or take it out before it is completely smooth, but you will notice that the dough should be very, very smooth, although there are the specks of bran in it, but it should be very, very smooth. Finished grinding some more flour, and I'm going to be making some homemade linguini noodles that are infused with fresh herbs. I did have to buy some basil from the store because I either forgot to plant basil or it died, but I am in need of basil, so I got some from the store. And I am just mixing 3 eggs, a little bit of oil and salt with 1.5 cups of whole wheat flour. So it's going to be the same thing as the bread. If you find that it is way too sticky, where it's coming off onto your fingers, just keep slowly adding some more flour. You want to mix it for roughly 5 minutes until it is very smooth. Your noodle dough should be very smooth, and then go ahead and place it into a ball and stick it in the refrigerator for at least 30 minutes. Although if you are running short on time, I made noodles yesterday. I mixed the dough and I went straight ahead and used it. You might just need a little bit extra flour as you're rolling out the dough because you don't want it to stick. Okay, my bread has been sitting out for a couple hours now, so it is time to shape it into bread loaves and allow it to rise its last time before we bake it. I just greased my loaf pans with some butter, and now I'm going to just cut my dough in half and reshape it and allow it to rise. Once it is risen about 3/4 of the way, I will bake it at 400 degrees for 25 minutes. In order to get majority of the air bubbles out, I am just giving it a quick final knead before I split it in two. You can weigh each half if you want to make sure that you have more of an exact measurement. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to kind of flatten out the dough, press it down, again, getting out more air bubbles, and I'm just going to be rolling it and placing it in the loaf pan. If you need a little bit extra flour, you can always sprinkle some on your work surface and on your dough. That way it's a little bit easier and less sticky to work with. So we finished up with the rest of our day of school, and I'm just going to be spending the afternoon doing some baking while my son sleeps. My kids actually, today is their movie day and they're watching Space Jam, which was one of my favorite movies as a kid, and I just love that they love that movie. I wasn't sure how I would feel watching it again, but it's actually, I enjoyed it equally the same. I'm going to just set these over on the side and allow them about an hour and a half to rise. Once I see that they are 3/4 of the way risen, I will go ahead and get the oven on and get them in the oven. Now that my dough is rising, I'm just going to work on my noodles. I made homemade sauce with the vegetables from our garden. We don't have a ton of ripe tomatoes. I used all of them yesterday for the homemade sauce. So I did have to buy some sauce, but one of my favorite things about summer and having a garden is getting a lot of tomatoes and peppers, onions, shallots, and making homemade sauce. And what I did for that was I just took our food processor. I threw in about 6 tomatoes, just a handful of peppers. I did shallots, an onion, and then I added some seasoning, a little bit of sugar, and allowed it to just boil on the stove for about an hour. You want to allow it to boil because it is really liquidy. You want it to thicken, and it just makes the most delicious sauce. I also threw in some herbs from the garden, some salt, pepper, onion powder, some garlic. It was so good. I wish that I could make it again, but again, because I don't have tomatoes that are ripe yet. I have a ton of tomatoes in the garden, but not any that are ripe. And so hopefully I will be making some homemade sauce on here soon. I flattened out my dough and now I'm cutting it into 3 sections. I will run these through the roller, add some herbs, fold it over, run it through the roller again to press both sides together, and then let it dry for a little bit before putting it through the linguini noodle maker. One thing to remember if you are new to making homemade pasta is as you flatten out your pasta, it will start to get sticky and tacky, and you want to make sure that throughout the process you just keep flouring it, because when it runs through the attachments, it will stick and it will break apart. It will ruin all of your hard work, not the noodle dough itself, but it will ruin the progress of getting it flattened and into its noodle shape. So make sure that as you are running it through each size, as it's compressing the noodle, making it smaller or thinner, that you keep adding flour, especially if it goes through and you start to feel it be tacky. This is the same as once you have this as thin as you would like. My preferred setting for my KitchenAid attachment is number 5, and that is just the thinness of the noodle. Once I get it to that size, I will flour again before putting it through the actual noodle attachment, whether that be the spaghetti attachment, the linguini attachment, whatever attachment that you have. And it doesn't matter if you are just using a knife or a pasta cutter. You want to make sure that your noodles are pretty saturated in flour. It will just help from sticking, breaking apart. And if you've made noodles, then I'm sure you know what I am talking about. Again, this is the half size of the recipe. I already have a container full of homemade noodles from yesterday, so I needed a little bit more, but not too much. So I did half of the recipe I normally do for my family of 6. I'm going to run out to the garden, get some fresh herbs, and then we can finish making our noodles.
From the east to the west, with the heart of gratefulness, lift up your voice and sing, lift up a shout of praise. Oh, there's only one name. We lift up a shout, we lift up a shout. Oh, together we sing, we lift up a shout, we lift up a shout of praise.
So I'm just adding some herbs in the middle. Right now, my pasta is at a size 3 for thickness. I want to get it to a size 5, but I'm going to fold over this other half, run it through size 3, and then run it through sizes 4 and 5 as it is smushed together.
From the north to the south, let it rise and ring out. Oh, lift up your voice and sing. Yeah, lift up a shout of praise. Oh, there's only one name. We lift up a shout, we lift up a shout. Oh, together we sing, we lift up a shout, we lift up a shout of praise. Let the anthem rise up, let the song ring out, let the ground now tremble as we raise a shout. Let the anthem rise up, let the song ring out, and let the ground now tremble as we raise a shout. Oh, there's only one name. We lift up a shout, we lift up a shout. Oh, together we sing, we lift up a shout, we lift up a shout. Oh, there's only one name. We lift up a shout, lift up a shout. Oh, together we sing, we lift up a shout, lift up a shout of praise. We lift up a shout of praise.
using store-bought noodles, just know that homemade noodles only cook or boil for a couple of minutes. I'm going to then get started on the filling. I'm going to cut up some shallots and onion from the garden, add in some cream cheese and seasonings, and then add in our sauce. I'm just adding the remaining butter from this morning's bread into my Dutch oven that I used to boil my noodles. I will use this to make the filling, and then I will add the noodles and filling together, and then add the sauce, mix it all together, and sprinkle some cheese on top. I'm just going to be sauteing my garlic, onion, and shallots in the butter. Let that cook until they're translucent, roughly 5 minutes-ish, before I go ahead and add the cream cheese. While this is sauteing, I'm going to get started on some chocolate chip cookies. I added in my sugar, and now I'm adding in 1/2 cup or 1 stick of melted butter, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 1/2 cup of oil, 2 eggs, and I'm just going to mix that up and then add my dry ingredients. I'm just going to allow this to melt the cream cheese, soften it so that it can easily be distributed over the noodles. I'm going to be adding 3 cups of flour. I am just doing all-purpose flour for the cookies, but if you wanted, you could definitely do whole wheat or oat flour. I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. I'm now going to be adding my sauce into my warm Dutch oven. I'm just going to be adding a little bit of salt and then mixing this until the dough becomes nice and soft and delicious. I'm going to be making one for our family and one for a family who just had a baby. It's okay if you have a few chunks of cream cheese. As it bakes, it will soften up. I almost forgot to brown some ground hamburger to add to this meal, so I'm going to get started on that while my cookies bake. My dough is ready, so I'm just going to fold in some chocolate chips. I'm just going to be shredding some cheese to place on top of this pasta bake. I can't believe that I almost forgot the ground beef. Those cookies are so delicious. I have the recipe on my website. I will have it linked down below. It has been a busy day in the kitchen, but it has been successful, and now we can just go and enjoy the outdoors.